The appeal of van life is undeniable. Freedom, minimalist living, sunsets over landscapes most people only see on postcards. In the summer of 2022, my wife Maya and I decided to live that dream. We bought a 2016 Ford Transit, spent 6 months building it out, and hit the road. Our plan was to drive through the American Southwest, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, boondocking on free public land to save money. We thought our biggest worries would be finding a spot to park or making our water tank last. We were wrong. There's a reason some parts of this country are called flyover states. There are stretches of desert so vast, so empty, that you realize how fragile you really are. This is the story of the 3 nights that made us sell our dream van and never go back. Our first real taste of true isolation was in Utah, near the Bonneville Salt Flats. It was our 3rd week on the road. We'd found a spot via an app that was off the beaten path. Perfect, free, secluded, and supposedly beautiful. We drove for miles down a gravel road that eventually turned into a dirt track. The sun was already dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in deep purples and oranges. When we finally parked, there was nothing. No trees, no other vans, just a cracked white landscape stretching for miles. Maya was excited. She made dinner and we sat on the roof of the van watching the stars. The sky was incredible, so clear you could see the Milky Way. Around 11 p.m., we crawled into bed. The silence was deafening. No crickets, no wind, no cars, just the rhythmic sound of our own breathing. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up. Maya was asleep. I needed to pee. In boondocking, that usually means stepping outside with a flashlight. I pulled on my shoes, grabbed my headlamp, and unlocked the side door. The air was frigid. I walked about 20 feet from the van. That's when I noticed it. A light. It was tiny, a pinprick, maybe a half-mile away. It was moving, bouncing slightly, like someone was walking. I figured it was another van lifer or a hiker who'd camped far away. I finished my business and went back inside, locking the door behind me. I couldn't shake a weird feeling, though. Why would someone be walking out here, on the open flats, in the dead of night? I checked the window one last time before getting back into bed. The light was closer. Much closer. It wasn't a headlamp. It was a small flashlight, a focused beam, and it was coming straight for us. I felt a pit of dread form in my stomach. Maya woke up, sensing my tension. "What is it?" she whispered, her voice tight. "Someone's out there," I said, not taking my eyes off the window. "Walking." The light was now maybe 100 yards away. It suddenly went out. In the starlight, I could make out a silhouette, a tall, gaunt figure. They weren't just walking, they were gliding, a smooth, predatory stride. They stopped at the edge of our campsite, an arbitrary line in the dirt. They just stood there for what felt like an hour. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. I grabbed the only weapon we had, a small hatchet under the seat. Then the figure started moving again, circling the van. Clockwise, slow, deliberate steps. Crunch, crunch, crunch on the hard dirt. They were touching the van as they walked, a long, spindly hand dragging across the metal side. The sound was unbearable. Maya was crying silently. I felt like my heart was going to burst through my chest. The figure circled us 3 times. On the 3rd pass, they stopped right at the side door. I was standing directly on the other side, the hatchet in my hand, ready to fight for our lives. They tapped on the glass 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. A soft, polite tap. But the malice behind it was undeniable. Then they just walked away into the darkness, never to be seen again. We drove out of there within minutes, not even stopping to pack our camp chairs. After Utah, we promised ourselves we'd only camp on developed BLM land. But a month later, in Nevada, near Area 51, we were exhausted, and the only available campground was full. Maya had found another secret spot on a forum, an old abandoned landing strip. It was 20 miles down a corrugated dirt road. The van vibrated so hard I thought the tires would pop. We arrived around 10 p.m. The landing strip was a long patch of cracked concrete, surrounded by sagebrush and nothing else. The GPS had died an hour ago. We had 0 cell signal. We were completely off the grid. We parked, cooked a quick meal, and got ready for bed. This time, I didn't feel the wonder of the desert. I felt a deep unease. This place felt forbidden. Around 1 a.m., a strange sound woke us up. It wasn't a footstep. It was a rhythmic buzzing noise. Buzzed, 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 like a large malfunctioning electrical transformer. I looked out the skylight. Nothing. I checked the side window. Far down the old runway, a light was blinking. Red. A single, ominous red light. It would pulse, then fade. Pulse, fade, pulse, fade. And with every pulse, the buzzing noise got louder. "Maya, wake up," I hissed. She scrambled out of bed, her eyes wide with fear. The red light was moving now. Not gliding like the figure in Utah, but hovering. It was a couple of feet off the ground, moving smoothly up the runway, straight for us. This was no hiker. This was no drone. It was too fast, too large. Maya grabbed the keys and hopped into the driver's seat. "Start the van," I yelled. But as she turned the key, the dashboard lights flickered and died. The engine wouldn't even turn over. The van was completely dead. And that red light? It was now right next to the van. The entire van was bathed in a deep, throbbing red light. The air inside got hot, unbearably hot, and there was a strong smell of ozone, like after a lightning strike. The buzzing noise was so loud I felt my teeth vibrating. I looked out the window. The light was too bright to see through. I was sure we were going to be taken. This was it. Maya was screaming, her hands on her ears. The sound, the light, it was overwhelming. And as quickly as it had arrived, it was gone. The buzzing ceased. The red light vanished. The air cooled. The dashboard lights flickered back on. We sat there in silence for what felt like an eternity, our hearts pounding. Maya immediately started the engine. This time, it roared to life. We drove out of there so fast we nearly flipped the van. We didn't stop until we hit the main highway, and we didn't look back once. What that thing was, we will never know. After those 2 nights, our dream had become a nightmare. We decided to wrap up the trip in Arizona and drive back to California to sell the van. We were finally back on paved roads, just a few hours from Phoenix. We stopped at a lonely old gas station on Route 66 to fill up our water tank. It was daytime, sunny, and we felt safe. I was filling the tank at the back. Maya was inside getting coffee. A beat-up old sedan pulled in. It had California plates. The driver, a guy in his mid-20s, got out. He looked completely unkempt, dirty clothes, long matted hair, and an angry, deranged look in his eyes. He didn't even look at the gas pump. He was staring straight at me. "Nice rig," he said, his voice a low growl. "Thanks," I said, trying to be polite, hoping he'd just move along. He didn't. He walked over and started touching the van, tracing the lines of our custom build. Been living in it? Must be nice. Not having a place? His smile was not a friendly one. I finished filling the water, put the cap on, and Maya walked out. He didn't stop. He was looking at Maya now, a creepy, predatory smile on his face. Maya grabbed my arm, her knuckles white. "We're just heading out," I said, trying to push past him to the driver's side. "Of course," he said, not moving. "Safe travels, guys." We got in and left. For the first 50 miles, it was normal. But then, Maya checked the rearview mirror. "He's behind us," she said, her voice shaking. The old sedan. It was a few hundred yards back, keeping a steady pace. We tried to lose him. We sped up. He sped up. We slowed down. He slowed down. It was a slow-speed chase through the Arizona desert. He followed us for 2 hours. 2 hours of pure, agonizing suspense. He wasn't trying to hide it. He was right there. I could see him in the mirror, watching us. Eventually, we saw an exit for a small town with a large visible police station. I made a sudden, sharp turn onto the off-ramp. He didn't follow. He kept going straight on the highway, a long final look at us from his window. We parked at the police station for 2 hours. I gave them his license plate number, but the car was stolen. There was nothing they could do. We stayed in a hotel that night. The next day, we sold the van in Phoenix. We took the train back to California. That was 4 years ago. We now live in a quiet apartment in Seattle. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I wake up to a slight sound outside, a footstep on the concrete, or the sound of a distant electrical buzz. My heart still skips a beat. Van life was supposed to be about freedom, but we learned that freedom has a high price. The desert is a beautiful place, yes, but it's also a place where you are completely, utterly alone. And sometimes, in that loneliness, you realize that you were never the one being watched. You were the one who was being found.